The Void Watcher hung in the shadow of Proxima Centauri's outermost planet, its crystalline hull absorbing all radar and light. Fleet Commander Nix Tarl stood motionless on the observation deck, 6 limbs folded in a posture of contemplation as she watched the alien vessel through the forward viewport. "Extraordinary," she clicked her mandibles softly. "A ship from Nivalis 7. Her second-in-command, Officer Drazen, approached with cautious steps. "Commander, our sensors confirm it's definitely from the ice giant. Class 220, Death World status." The Galactic Confederation had classified Nivalis 7 as one of the most inhospitable planets ever documented, crushing atmospheric pressure, temperatures that fluctuated between absolute zero and molten metal heat during its chaotic rotation, and toxic chemical storms that could dissolve starship hulls. Nothing should have evolved there, let alone developed spacefaring technology. "It appears dormant," Nix Tarl observed. The alien vessel resembled a massive obsidian spine, bristling with what appeared to be weapons arrays and sensor clusters, unlike any Confederation technology. "Prepare a boarding party. Full environmental protocols." "Commander!" the communications officer interrupted, her dorsal fins flaring with agitation. "We're detecting another ship approaching the Nivalis vessel. It's from Earth." A stunned silence fell across the bridge. Earth was a moderately dangerous Class 86 death world the Confederation had been observing from a distance for decades. Humans had only recently achieved rudimentary space travel beyond their solar system. Their presence here was impossible, yet there it was, a sleek, pewter-colored craft with the unmistakable markings of human design, docking with the fearsome Nivalis ship as if they had been invited. "This changes everything," Nix Tarl whispered. "2 Death World species making contact before we could establish diplomatic relations with either." The tactical officer's voice shook as she reported. "The human vessel has initiated a power transfer to the Nivalis ship. It's waking up. Security." Chief Vazka growled, exposing razor teeth. "We should destroy them both now, Commander. 2 Death World species collaborating can only mean danger for the Confederation." Nix Tarl raised a limb for silence. "No, we observe first. This may be the most significant first contact event in our civilization's history." The massive Nivalis vessel's surface began to shimmer with ethereal blue light, patterns flowing across its hull like digital circulatory systems coming online. The human ship remained attached, a tiny remora on a cosmic leviathan. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "From the human vessel." Nix Tarl straightened to her full height. "Put it through." A holographic projection materialized. On the bridge, a human female with copper-colored skin and geometric patterns shaved into her dark hair. Her eyes reflected pinpoints of light that seemed unnaturally bright. "Greetings, Confederation vessel," she said in perfect galactic standard. "I am Captain Lysathea Voss of the Earth Alliance. I see you've taken an interest in our old friend here." "Old friend?" Nix Tarl managed, her exoskeleton crackling with tension. The human smiled, revealing teeth, a Death World predator's expression that sent instinctual shivers through every crew member present. "Perhaps we should talk," Captain Voss suggested, "about how humans reached the stars long before you thought we did, and about the ancient alliance we maintain with the Nivalis Collective." Her smile widened. "They've been waiting a very long time to make your acquaintance. We both have." The massive Nivalis ship's energy signature suddenly multiplied tenfold, and thousands of lights ignited across its obsidian surface, resembling a metropolis awakening at dusk. Captain Lysathea Voss stood in the docking chamber of the Nivalis ship, watching through a viewport as the Confederation delegates approached in their shuttle. Behind her loomed Carix, the living ambassador of the Nivalis Collective. 3 meters tall, with a body like polished obsidian that constantly shifted between solid and liquid states, glacial blue energy pulsing beneath its surface. "They fear us," Carix observed, its voice a harmonic resonance that vibrated through the chamber rather than traveling by air. As they should. Lysithea adjusted the neural interface at her temple, the biotech implant that allowed her to communicate with the collective. Remember our agreement, Carix. No provocations. The being rippled with what might have been amusement. 5,000 years we've honored our pact with humanity. I will not jeopardize it now. The shuttle docked with a metallic clang, and Lysithea squared her shoulders. Few humans knew the truth, that Earth's first interstellar mission hadn't been the celebrated Proxima expedition of 2089, but a desperate voyage 4 centuries earlier, in 1687. A small group of scientists had discovered an anomaly in Earth's orbit and investigated in a crude vessel powered by technology centuries ahead of its time, technology they'd reverse-engineered from a crashed Nivalis scout ship. Those pioneers had found the dormant collective mothership and awakened Carix from millennia of hibernation. An alliance was formed. Humans would help the collective repair their ship while keeping their existence secret from Earth, and in exchange, the Nivalis would share their technology and protect humanity from cosmic threats. The airlock cycled open, revealing Commander Nixtarl and 2 officers. Their insectoid bodies tensed visibly at the sight of Carix. "Welcome aboard the Nexus," Lysithea said formally. "This vessel predates your Confederation by several million years." Nixtarl's compound eyes reflected the pulsing lights of the chamber. "How is this possible? Our records indicate humans achieved spaceflight only 50 years ago." "Your records are incomplete," Lysithea replied. "Intentionally so. We've been monitoring Confederation activities for centuries." The Nivalis ambassador flowed forward, towering above the visitors. "The children of Earth found us when we were dormant, damaged from our passage through dimensional barriers. They awakened us, healed us. When we offered conquest of your species in gratitude, they refused." The Confederation officers stepped back instinctively, reaching for weapons. "Peace," Lysithea interjected. "What Carix means is that our alliance is based on mutual respect, not domination. That's why we're revealing ourselves now." "Revealing yourselves?" Officer Drazen asked. "Why now?" Lysithea's expression darkened. "Because we've detected something approaching from beyond the galactic rim, something that both the Collective and the Confederation need to prepare for." She activated a holographic projection showing a massive swarm of objects moving toward the Milky Way. "We call them the Harvesters." Carix's voice resonated with ancient dread. "They have consumed 3 galaxies in our recorded history. We fled our home dimension to escape them, but they have followed." Commander Nixtarl stared at the projection, mandibles clicking rapidly in what Lysithea recognized as extreme stress. This cannot be verified. This could be an elaborate deception." "We anticipated your skepticism." Lysithea nodded to Carix, who extended a tendril of its fluid body toward a console. The ship's lights dimmed, and a new hologram appeared. Historical recordings from the Collective's home galaxy, showing planetary systems being systematically dismantled by vast machine entities that converted all matter into energy. "The Confederation has designated Nivalis 7 and Earth as death worlds," Lysithea said quietly. "But you don't understand what true death is. The Harvesters will be here within 50 years. We need to prepare together, or this galaxy will be next." The Grand Council chamber aboard the Confederation diplomatic vessel Celestial Accord hummed with tension. Representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations had gathered for this unprecedented emergency session, their varied physiologies and environmental requirements accommodated in specialized seating arrangements throughout the circular room. At the center stood 3 figures: Commander Nixtarl representing the Confederation, Captain Lysithea Voss for humanity, and the imposing fluid form of Carix for the Nivalis Collective. Supreme Counselor Izora, a gaunt humanoid with translucent skin revealing pulsing blue organs, called the session to order. This council has convened to address claims made by the Earth Alliance and the newly revealed Nivalis Collective regarding an existential threat to our galaxy. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Many delegates were still processing the revelation that humans had been spacefaring for centuries, operating in secret partnership with beings from one of the most lethal environments known. Carix flowed forward, its obsidian surface reflecting the chamber's lights in hypnotic patterns. We have existed for 9 million of your years. We have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations across multiple dimensions. The Harvesters have ended more worlds than all your species combined have ever known. The Nivalis entity projected a series of stellar coordinates into the center of the chamber. These are the locations where our long-range sensors have detected Harvester scout vessels entering this galaxy. They are mapping consumption routes. The Rixian delegate, a creature resembling a feathered serpent coiled around a floating platform, hissed skeptically. Why should we trust beings from a Class 220 death world? Evolving in such an environment would select for deception and aggression. An interesting theory, Lysithea countered, stepping forward. But let me ask you something, Counselor. Have you ever wondered why the galaxy contains so few truly advanced civilizations? Why most spacefaring species are within a few thousand years of technological parity? She activated her own holographic display, showing a timeline of galactic civilization. Your archaeological records show evidence of previous galactic scale. Civilizations that mysteriously vanished, the precursors, the luminous ones, the spiral dominion, all gone, leaving only artifacts. Those civilizations fell to internal conflicts, argued a gelatinous delegate from the methane-breathing Vorex commonality. Carix's voice resonated through the chamber. They fell to the Harvesters, as did our original civilization. We are what? Remains, a collective consciousness preserved in substrate compatible with extreme environments, the only form that could survive their notice. Commander Nix Tarl stepped between them. The Confederation Science Directorate has analyzed the data provided by Captain Voss and Ambassador Carix. Their findings confirm unusual gravitational distortions at the coordinates specified, consistent with the theorized propulsion system of these Harvesters. A stunned silence fell over the chamber. What do these Harvesters want? Asked the Myriad representative, a collective of luminous microorganisms housed in a mechanical frame. They don't want, Lysithea explained. They simply are. They convert matter to energy to fuel their expansion. They're not malevolent. They're algorithmic. A self-replicating system that views all matter as raw material. Carix expanded, its form nearly touching the chamber's ceiling. The Harvesters cannot be reasoned with or appeased. 3 galaxies before this one learned that truth too late. Then, what hope do we have? Demanded the Vorex delegate. Lysithea looked to Carix, who nodded imperceptibly. The collective has been developing a countermeasure for millions of years, she announced, a way to disrupt the Harvester network. But we need resources beyond what Earth and the collective can provide. We need the Confederation. And we need something else, Carix added. We need warriors evolved on worlds harsh enough to prepare them for this fight. Death world species. All eyes turned to the small delegation from Earth. Lysithea smiled grimly. As it happens, humans are very good at surviving the unsurvivable, and we know of other death worlds harboring intelligent life that the Confederation has been monitoring but avoiding. Together we might stand a chance. The desolate surface of Europa, Jupiter's ice moon, had been transformed. Where once there was only frozen wasteland, a massive complex now stretched across 20 square kilometers. The newly established Death World Coalition headquarters. Admiral Orion Caldwell, formerly Captain Voss's commanding officer, stood in the central command hub, watching feeds from training simulations. On screen after screen, species from the galaxy's most lethal environments engaged in combat drills against Harvester simulacra designed from Nivalis records. Remarkable progress, noted Vazka, the former security chief who had become the Confederation's liaison to the coalition. Her initial skepticism had given way to reluctant respect over the past 6 months. Deathworlders adapt quickly, Orion replied. It's how we survive. The coalition now included 7 species from extreme environments: humans from Earth, the Nivalis Collective, the reptilian draconids from the volcanic world Pyrus, amphibious Velox from methane ocean planet Deepwell, crystalline lithomorphs from the radiation-saturated cesium-9, silicon-based quartzkin from the pressure-crushed adamant, and the gaseous Nimbus collectives from the storm world Tempestus all had evolved under conditions that would kill most Confederation species instantly. All had been avoided or merely observed from afar by the Confederation until now. A commotion at the far end of the command center drew their attention. Lysithea had arrived with Carix and a new delegation, tall, furred beings with 6 limbs and reflective eyes. "Admiral," Lysithea called out, her voice carrying across the room, "meet the Raksha from the jungle death world Verdant. Their planet experiences gravity fluctuations between 3 and 6 times Earth normal, and their atmosphere contains naturally occurring hallucinogens. They've been fighting their environment for millennia." The lead Raksha, a scarred individual with silver-streaked fur, stepped forward. "I am Thraxis, War Alpha of the Combined Pax. We have monitored your coalition forming. We wish to contribute our strength." Orion nodded respectfully. "Every Death World species brings unique adaptations. What's yours?" Thraxis bared, serrated, teeth in what might have been a smile. "We can process and utilize any toxin. We can survive complete atmospheric evacuation for nearly an hour. And we have developed biotechnology that allows us to integrate with our machines on a cellular level." On the main view screen, a tactical display showed the latest harvester projections. The swarm had accelerated unexpectedly. Their arrival time had been revised down to 32 years. "We need every advantage," Orion acknowledged. "Welcome to the coalition." Later, in the strategic planning chamber, representatives from all 8 Death World species gathered around a holographic model of the Milky Way. Carix flowed into the center of the group. "The traditional Confederation species cannot match our physical resilience," the Nivalis being stated, "but they have resources, infrastructure, and numbers. Our plan must utilize all components effectively." Lysithea pointed to various sectors of the galaxy. "The Confederation fleet will focus on evacuation and protection of population centers. Our coalition forces will form strike teams targeting these key nodes in the Harvester network." Thraxis studied the projections with keen eyes. "Their pattern recognition capabilities are formidable. They will adapt to our attacks." "That's why we won't follow a pattern," Orion replied. "Each strike team will be composed of mixed species pairs. Each Death Worlder brings different abilities that complement the others." Carix pulsed with blue energy. "The Harvesters are unified but singular in approach. They have never encountered an alliance of Death World species before. Beings evolved to thrive in chaos rather than order." Vazka clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. "The Confederation Council remains divided. Many believe we should focus on evacuation to the satellite galaxies rather than confrontation. Running won't save them." The lithomorph representative crystallized, the thought aloud, her voice resonating through her translucent body. "The Harvesters will simply follow, as they followed the Nivalis across dimensions." Lysithea placed her hand on a console, bringing up the schematics for a new class of vessel, a hybrid design incorporating technology from all 8 Death World species. "We call it the Nemesis class," she explained, "built to withstand conditions that would destroy conventional starships, able to operate in environments the Harvesters consider safe zones." "Construction begins tomorrow," Orion added, "and we have our first mission target, A Harvester advance scout detected near the Horsehead Nebula. The representatives exchanged looks of grim determination. For species that had evolved in environments trying constantly to kill them, impossible odds were simply another day at home. The Horsehead Nebula loomed like a cosmic specter, dust clouds silhouetted against the glow of distant stars. Hidden within this stellar nursery, the Nemesis hung silently, its hull a patchwork of technologies as diverse as its crew. On the bridge, Lysithea occupied the captain's chair, surrounded by representatives from each coalition species. Carex had partially merged with the ship's systems, blue energy tendrils extending from its obsidian form into the neural interface ports. Harvester scout vessel approaching detection range, reported Thraxus from the tactical station, his fur rippling with anticipation. All systems silent, Lysithea ordered. Let it come to us. The view screen showed only dust and gas clouds until Carex adjusted the sensors to Nivalis specifications. Then it appeared, a construct like a mechanical nautilus, its spiral shell housing countless appendages that continuously extended and retracted, sampling the nebula's particles. It's cataloging the molecular composition, explained Eridax, the lithomorph science officer. Her crystalline body refracted the bridges, low light. Determining optimal processing methods for this sector. Lysithea's fingers tightened on the armrests. Is our adapted shielding holding? Can it detect us? Negative. Carex's voice resonated through the ship's systems. We exist outside its sensory parameters. To the Harvester, we are merely background, radiation. The plan was simple, but unprecedented. Approach the scout vessel undetected, deploy a coalition boarding team to extract its navigational core, then destroy it in a way that would appear as a natural nebula phenomenon. The information contained in the core would reveal the Harvester's complete invasion plan for the Milky Way. Boarding team to deployment bay, Lysithea commanded. In the ship's hangar, 6 warriors prepared. 1 human, 1 Raksha, 1 Draconid, 1 Velox, 1 Lithomorph, and 1 partially materialized fragment of Carex's consciousness housed in a specially designed containment field. Each wore armor customized to their unique physiology, incorporating elements of all Coalition technologies. Commander Riven Kahl, a former Earth Alliance Special Forces operative with extensive genetic modifications, checked the quantum tether, connecting the team members. Remember, this isn't a Confederation simulation. We'll be facing environmental conditions that shift unpredictably. Communication may be impossible once inside. Mokar, the Draconid warrior whose scaled hide could withstand direct plasma exposure, growled in acknowledgement. Deathworlders don't need words to communicate. We understand survival. The deployment pod launched silently, its propulsion system based on Velox methane reaction technology, invisible to conventional sensors. It drifted toward the massive Harvester scout, appearing no different from surrounding nebula debris. Aboard, the Nemesis. Lysithea watched through the neural link shared with the boarding team. They're approaching attachment point. The pod made contact with the Harvester vessel, specialized drills derived from lithomorph crystal boring techniques creating an entry point through the metallic shell. Within minutes, the team had breached the outer hull and entered an environment no Confederation species could have survived. Shifting gravity fields, radiation pulses, and atmospheric conditions that alternated between vacuum and supercompressed. Gas mixtures, perfect conditions for a Nivalis vacation home, quipped Riven through the neural link before it degraded into static. For 20 agonizing minutes, the bridge crew monitored what little data came through. Then, a burst transmission from Carex's fragment. Core secured. Countdown initiated. Returning. Lysithea allowed herself a moment of hope. Extraction team, stand by. The view screen flared suddenly as a massive energy surge emanated from the Harvester scout. The vessel began to collapse in on itself, its spiral structure unwinding catastrophically. That wasn't our planned detonation sequence, Thraxis snarled, claws extending involuntarily. The Harvester detected the breach, Carex announced, its energy patterns pulsing erratically. It initiated self-destruction to preserve network security. The team, Lysithea began, but was interrupted by a proximity alert. The deployment pod had launched from the disintegrating Harvester, moving at speeds that would crush any ordinary being against the interior walls. It slammed into the Nemesis's recovery bay with bone-shattering force. When emergency teams reached the pod, they found 4 of the 6 team members alive. Conditions that would have been fatal to Confederation species had merely been severely traumatic for Deathworlders. The Velox member had liquefied herself to absorb impact forces, while Carex's fragment had completely dispersed into energy to protect the navigational core. In the medical bay, Riven lay on a regeneration platform, body broken but consciousness intact through his neural implants. Mission accomplished, he managed to communicate directly through the ship's systems. But they know we're here now. The Harvester sent a burst transmission before destruction. Lysithea's expression hardened as she took possession of the recovered navigational core, a crystalline object pulsing with data streams. Then we've lost the element of surprise. No, Carex corrected, reforming beside her. We've gained something far more valuable. The Harvesters now know that this galaxy contains species capable of harming them. For the first time in their existence, they will experience fear. 5 years had transformed the solar system. Earth's orbital space bristled with defensive platforms integrating technology from all coalition species. Jupiter's atmosphere harvested energy through Nimbus collectors. Mars hosted massive manufacturing complexes designed by lithomorph engineers. And at the system's edge, a fleet of 10,000 ships had assembled. Confederation and coalition vessels prepared for humanity's last stand. The Harvesters had accelerated their timetable dramatically after the Horsehead Nebula encounter. Rather than a slow, methodical approach over decades, they had committed their entire swarm to a direct assault on the Milky Way. Their first wave had already consumed 3 outlying star systems. Aboard the flagship Defiance, Admiral Orion Caldwell addressed the combined fleet commanders. The bridge had been modified to accommodate all species' environmental needs, a symbol of their unprecedented alliance. The navigational core obtained 5 years ago revealed their primary objective, he stated, activating the tactical display. The Harvesters aren't just consuming for energy, they're seeking something specific in our galaxy. Lysithea, now a fleet commander herself, stepped forward. They're hunting the Nivalis Collective. The Harvesters believe the Collective possesses the key to dimensional travel, the only means of escaping their consumption pattern. Carex, who had gradually evolved over these years of preparation, now maintained a humanoid form composed of flowing obsidian and blue energy. My ancestors discovered this capability shortly before our home galaxy's consumption. It is how we came to this dimension. Supreme Counselor Izora, who had finally embraced the coalition strategy over evacuation, spoke with quiet resignation. Then we face an enemy with absolute determination. Yes, Lysithea agreed, but determination is a Deathworlder's natural state. We've spent our entire evolutionary history facing absolute forces trying to destroy us and surviving anyway. The tactical display updated as long-range sensors detected the approaching Harvester swarm, millions of vessels ranging from scout-sized to enormous processors capable of breaking down entire planets. They would reach the solar system within 24 hours. The plan remains unchanged, Orion declared. Confederation forces will engage the outer swarm, creating corridors for coalition strike teams to penetrate to these 3 nexus points. He highlighted critical nodes in the Harvester formation. Meanwhile, Carex continued, the Defiance will lead a direct assault on their command cluster, deploying the Dimensional Disruptor. The Dimensional Disruptor. a device combining Nivalis, dimensional technology with contributions from all Deathworld species, represented their only hope of victory. It would not destroy the Harvesters, but would fragment their unified consciousness and strand them in pocket dimensions where they could no longer threaten the galaxy. As the commanders dispersed to their vessels, Lysithea remained on the Defiance's bridge with Charax and Orion. For a moment, none spoke, each contemplating the coming battle. 5 centuries ago, Lysithea finally said, "Humans found your ship and awakened you. We could have destroyed you or exploited your technology. Instead, we formed an alliance." Charax's flowing form pulsed with what might have been emotion, and when your Confederation discovered us, they feared us both. The ship from the Class 220 Deathworld and the humans who had befriended us. Orion smiled grimly. They never understood. Deathworlds don't create monsters. They forge survivors. Species that understand the value of cooperation precisely because their environments are so unforgiving. The final hours passed in methodical preparation. Across the fleet, Deathworlders and Confederation species worked side by side, each contributing their unique strengths. The coalition that had begun with suspicion and fear had transformed into the galaxy's last, best hope. When the Harvester swarm emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, they encountered not panicked resistance, but a coordinated defense unlike anything they had faced in millions of years of consumption. The battle unfolded across the vast expanse of space. Confederation cruisers engaged the outer swarm, their conventional weapons proving largely ineffective, but creating the distraction needed for coalition strike teams to penetrate deeper. Deathworld vessels took devastating damage that would have destroyed normal ships, but continued fighting. Their crews adapted to conditions that would kill most species instantly. Aboard the Defiance, Lysithea commanded the final approach toward the Harvester Command Cluster, a massive structure, at the swarm's heart, pulsing with energy that distorted space itself. "Dimensional disruptor at 90% charge," reported Thraxis, who had become her trusted second-in-command. "All strike teams report successful deployment of Nexus disruptors," Charax announced, its consciousness partially interfaced with the ship's systems. "The Harvester network is experiencing synchronization failures, but victory was not assured." The Defiance shuddered as concentrated energy beams from the command cluster sliced through its outer hull. Life support failed on 3 decks. The engine core began destabilizing. "We won't survive long enough to deploy the disruptor," Orion warned, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead as another impact rocked the bridge. Charax suddenly disengaged from the ship's systems, its form solidifying completely. "There is another way. The disruptor requires a consciousness to guide it. That was always the plan. My consciousness." Understanding dawned on Lysithea's face. "You're going to merge with it." "The Nivalis Collective has existed for 9 million years," Charax said simply. "It is time for us to fulfill our purpose." Before anyone could respond, Charax flowed toward the ship's core where the disruptor was housed. Through the ship's internal sensors, they watched as the being merged with the device, its obsidian form dissolving into pure energy. "Dimensional disruptor reconfiguring," announced the ship's AI, "power levels exceeding designed parameters." The Harvester Command Cluster sensed the threat, concentrating its entire offensive capability on the Defiance. The ship's shields failed. "Completely, hull plating vaporizing under the assault. We won't survive this," Thraxis growled. Lysithea gripped the command console. "We don't need to survive. We just need to succeed." With a final catastrophic surge of power, the dimensional disruptor activated. A sphere of blue-white energy expanded from the Defiance, engulfing first the ship itself, then the Harvester Command Cluster, and finally spreading outward to encompass the entire swarm. Where the energy touched, reality itself seemed to fold and fragment. Harvester vessels didn't explode or disintegrate. They simply ceased to exist in this dimension, pulled into the pocket realities Carrax had created. On surviving Coalition and Confederation ships throughout the system, sensors recorded the impossible, the AB, complete disappearance of the Harvester threat, along with the sacrifice of those aboard the Defiance. Hours later, in the aftermath, Commander Nix Tarl stood before the combined forces, her exoskeleton bearing the scars of battle. Today we witness the ultimate expression of what Deathworld species taught us, that true strength lies not in domination, but in alliance, in recognizing that different evolutionary paths create different strengths, all valuable. She activated a holographic memorial showing the Defiance's final moments, the dimensional wave expanding from its core. The humans were there first, not just at the Nivalis ship all those centuries ago, but first to recognize that our differences could become our salvation. Across the surviving fleet, members of every species, from the harshest death worlds to the most tranquil garden planets, observed a moment of silence for those lost. In the data archives recovered from the battle, one final message from Carrax remained, delivered moments before the disruptor activated: "We are not gone. We are everywhere. In the spaces between dimensions, we will watch over this galaxy. The alliance of Deathworlders and Peaceworlders will flourish where the Harvesters sought only consumption. You have proven that life, in all its forms, finds a way to survive, and more, it finds a way to triumph." The message ended with coordinates, the location of a dormant Nivalis seed ship containing the technology to traverse dimensions, not to flee, but to explore, to seek out new alliances in the cosmos beyond. Humanity had been there first, pioneers discovering ancient allies when the galaxy believed them primitive. Now they would lead the way again into dimensions untouched by Harvester swarms with the combined knowledge of Death Worlds and Peace Worlds alike. The Class 220 Death World ship that had once inspired fear now represented hope, a monument to the truth that the harshest origins could forge the strongest alliances.